Hello everyone and welcome back to Very Cold Lasagna, your filthy casual place for all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I am DylanLasagna and welcome back to one more weekly preview of none other than my San Francisco 49ers. And why do I say weekly preview? Well, that's at least the regular season, because once we're done with the regular season for my 49ers, then it's on to the postseason. Yes, the Niners, in case you haven't been following along with the San Francisco 49ers for various reasons, can't blame you. Then, yeah, the Niners made the dance again this year, this time as the division NFC West champions. So the Niners made the dance, and now they have one more game to tune up, prepare for the postseason, and get their reps in as they face the Arizona Cardinals in Week 18. This time, they get to do it at home in front of their fans. So, unlike compared to previous weeks, there's not really like too much to talk about. Obviously, there's still some things at stake, but going into it, I mean, not as much things to delve into very deeply as in previous weeks, because obviously, the last week of the regular season, I mean, it brings some things into the fold like last year, but this year, not so much. So anyway, for both of these teams, obviously the 49ers are heading to the postseason, get to host a playoff game, or maybe even more. But then for Arizona, man, they've been free falling with bad play, injuries, and a lot of questions to be asked in the offseason. And you look at them when they last played on New Year's Day in Atlanta. They're on their fourth starting quarterback now in David Blau. Like, some people have never heard the name David Blau, and the last time I kind of heard that name was when he was like filling in for Matthew Stafford as a fill-in starter when I think Matthew Stafford was hurt when they were with the Lions in like the pandemic. Was it the pandemic year, I think, or like a couple years ago? I don't remember, but either way, that's the name that kind of rings a bell. So David Blau fills in for not just Kyler Murray, who was out with the torn ACL, not just for main backup Colt McCoy, who still remains in the concussion protocol, not just filling in for the third string quarterback Trace McSorley, who was pretty bad in the games that McSorley had to fill in for the main two guys. David Blau, it was also not great trying to run the main offense for Arizona, and hence they were pretty much in a kicking war with Atlanta, who, by the way, was also okay, but they couldn't execute with Desmond Ridder under center. So that's why they were in that kicking war between Matt Prater and Younghoe Koo for most of the second half, with the Falcons coming out on top, getting a game-winning field goal from Younghoe Koo as Arizona lost that game 20-19, and now they're 4-12, in position for a top 10 draft pick, and yeah, they're just waiting for the season to be done with. But then you're kind of wondering, like, is head coach Cliff Kingsbury potentially going to be coaching his final game for Arizona? Are they finally going to give him the axe? I mean, sure, injuries play a big role in a season, but it's just like prior to all the injuries really piling along for Arizona, it's like the Cardinals were really playing bad. I mean, just look at the last time these two teams met. The Niners hammered Arizona like 38-10 in Mexico City. I mean, obviously, at least Arizona had most of their starting lineup back then, sans Kyler Murray, who didn't have the season-ending injury, but they had to trot out Colt McCoy. But even with Jimmy Garoppolo under center back then, it's like the Arizona allowed him to have one of his best games in his career. And the Niners defense really shut down Colt McCoy and that offense. And Colt McCoy can actually decently run the air raid offense with DeAndre Hopkins, Robbie Anderson, AJ Green, James Conner. So, yeah, it was not. It was whatever Kingsbury is doing or has been doing this season. It absolutely has not been working. So ownership really has to consider a little bit of firing in the next couple of days, and before and after this game. Meanwhile, for my 49ers, they spent their New Year's Day, obviously, where some people spend their New Year's weekend, typically. And that is, of course, in Las Vegas, in the black hole. Maybe they showed up with a little bit of New Year's hangover, because obviously the defense did, because they allowed backup Jarrett Stidham to slice them up and keep the game competitive. Yeah, Jarrett Stidham pretty much did a number on the 49ers defense, throwing for 3 touchdowns, over nearly 400 yards. Like, holy crap. But at least the offense, with Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, excelled. They really excelled, often responding to Stidham's, like whatever the offense was doing with Stidham and Devontae Adams. So that game surprisingly went to overtime. and Nick Bosa finally came in the clutch with heavy pressure on Stidham and forced him to throw an interception to Deshaun Gibson. And then Robbie Gould made up for a missed game winner in regulation with a game winner in overtime to give the Niners a 37-34 victory in OT. So that was a little bit of a scare, a New Year's scare on New Year's Day. But I guess a win is a win, but a little bit of a glaring hole on the defense that obviously cannot be exposed yet again. Talanoa Hufanga did not have a good game. De'Mondre Lenore did not have a good game, trying to cover Devontae Adams. So you got to avoid that, especially when you play teams that can really mess with the secondary. So going into this game against Arizona, obviously this is one last game for Brock Purdy to get some valuable experience. Try to tune up the offense with McCaffrey, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel's going to be back, along with Elijah Mitchell. Now for Kyle Shanahan, if the score is going to be like big, that again depends on how much you want to run it up big against whatever's going to be left of the G League Cardinals. How much do you want to play the starters? How much do you want to play the starters in the second half? That remains to be seen. But anyway, you want to focus on beating the Cardinals, get the number 2 seed, and then obviously the playoff watch is going to be all eyes on the Philadelphia Eagles, because the Niners still remain in play on the number 1 seed. If the Philadelphia Eagles somehow, even with Jalen Hurts coming back, if he plays that game against the New York Giants, if they somehow lose that game to New York. But I don't know. I'm kind of doubting it. I'm kind of doubting that Philadelphia loses to the Giants. Brian Daboll probably not going to play his starters in that game, because the Giants are locked into the 6th seed. They're going to play Minnesota. They're probably going to play Minnesota probably. So there's like no reason to, even if like Daboll wants to get wants to get some payback on whatever happened in week 13. Or was it week 13 or week 14? I don't remember. Week 14. Whatever happened in week 14 between them and the Eagles. I think his main focus is just trying to get his guys healthy for the playoff game against what's probably going to be the Vikings. So as much as it'd be nice to have the number 1 seed and hope Philadelphia loses, I mean, the Niners would have had the number 1 seed if they didn't lose some winnable games earlier in the year. But the Niners will probably going to settle for the number 2 seed, beating Arizona handily. Obviously, looking at the injury report really quick, Arizona's not going to have like anybody, like literally anybody. Like none of most of their key starters are going to be out, like DeAndre Hopkins, James Conner, Robbie Anderson, Zaven Collins, Zach Allen, Marco Wilson. So like 3 starters on offense, 3 starters on defense. Colt McCoy is still going to be out. I mean, at least they're going to have Marquise Hollywood Brown there, right? Despite hurting his wrist. I mean, that's something, I guess. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, at least you're going to have, I mean, you have Elijah Mitchell back, so it's a good, you're going to at least get a game to figure out how to utilize him, Christian McCaffrey, and Jordan Mason. Hopefully, they keep using Jordan Mason because he's a very good between the tackles runner, man. Like Kyle Shanahan, like you gotta keep Jordan Mason in the lineup. Make it a 3-headed running attack between McCaffrey, Mason, and Elijah Mitchell. Mason has become very reliable in Mitchell's absence. So expect Mitchell to get some reps. Expect Deebo Samuel to get some reps in this game after what's been a surprising recovery. And it's good to see him back after what was a scary injury in the Bucs game. Christian McCaffrey, despite not practicing having 2 straight practices, he was a full go Friday. Expected to play despite the ankle sprain, so that's good. You're not gonna have Dre Greenlaw in this game. I think it should be okay. I mean, you're replacing David Blau, but don't underestimate. You're not gonna have guard Aaron Banks. I mean, the only thing you have to worry about is J.J. Watt in the pass rush. So you don't really Arizona doesn't really have. Other than that, Arizona doesn't really have a pass rush anymore. Kevin Givens is not going to be there, the defensive lineman in the pass rushing depth. But I mean, from what I saw in the last report, at least he's progressing towards at least playing the postseason. So that's good. So the Niners, this game is mainly going to be about, granted that they win, granted they don't sleep on the wheel, like they did last week against the Raiders. I mean, granted, the Raiders have a more talent-filled team, and at least Jarrett Stidham surprisingly maximized on the talents of Devontae, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller. He made the most out of his offense and gave the Niners a fight. Arizona, what's left of them? What is left of the Cardinals? I don't know. They could give us a little bit of a scare. They don't have their top offensive weapon, James Conner, anymore, nor DeAndre Hopkins. They have Marquise Brown, but he doesn't seem like the effective weapon that he was in Baltimore. So obviously, I'm picking the Niners over the banged up Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury is probably gonna maybe lose his job. I mean, nobody likes to see coaches lose their jobs, but Cliff Kingsbury hasn't done well for expectations in Arizona, and the Niners are going to lock up that number 2 seed, or maybe if the Bears with Nathan Peterman, Mr. Peterman, Peter the Man, Mr. 5 interceptions, somehow leads the Bears to an upset over the Vikings. That will help the 49ers clinch the number 2 seed earlier in the day by leading an upset over the Vikings with the Bears. So who knows what happens this Sunday? As long as the Niners take care of their business against Arizona, they beat them up in the first half, and then in the second half, if Arizona doesn't do anything, doesn't give them a scare, then you can rest some of your players. You can rest some of your players. Get your reserves some reps for the postseason, just in case something crazy happens. Then, this should be a winnable game for the 49ers going into their first playoff game on Super Wildcard Weekend. So, that's pretty much it for this preview between the 49ers and the Cardinals in Week 18. Again, nothing too crazy to talk about going into this game. So, let me know about your thoughts in this regular season finale for the 49ers. Let me know your thoughts going into this game. And this is DylanLasagna of Very Cold Lasagna. And keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until next time, peace out.